Hey guys, I appreciate you jumping on. Had a pretty intriguing conversation earlier this week, and kind of wanted to loop you all in on it. So the the debate happened because we were talking with a prospective client about their goals and their budgets for next year, and they were really pressing in on, well, what are my KPIs or key performance indicators for that success? And how are your teams going to do that? How do I hold my teams accountable to measuring their KPIs? And probably half of the examples of the KPIs he handed me weren't what I would consider KPIs in other areas, whether it's sales, product, marketing, content creation, what have you. And so I just was curious, how do you guys go about distinguishing the difference between a key performance indicator and a a benchmark for success in a specific tactic or a specific thing that people are doing?
For me, with my team, because you all know I have a team of different marketing professionals, right? I have marketing specialist, graphic designer, web designer, and it varies depending on the needs of our clients and the projects we're working on and the deliverables we're expected to provide. So, with that being said, when I look at KPIs for my team overall, it's not based on, how many people opened an email. If if my respective person is working on that email, I'm looking at how many revisions did it take when we were putting this together, right? Like, how many times did our team have to provide feedback? And especially once we get into things that we do on a recurring basis, I'm looking to see, are you clocking essentially some of the comments and the concerns that would occur from time to time, and not concerns necessarily in a bad way, but there are certain things that people, our clients, even our internal teams, they're more cognizant of and they want to see or they don't want to see. So, are you making that mental note and are you making those changes proactively so that we are getting this done, even if that's cutting down our time from start to finish by a day or 2 days? To me, that is success. So, my KPIs are more around the rounds of revisions, being able to actually be more efficient with your work versus just getting something done for the sake of getting done. Because also, if we're extending the amount of time it's taking us to get the project done or that deliverable completed, it's fine if there's a valid reason. If we're providing more of value overall, versus just churning it out for the sake of churning it out. If that maybe goes into your team, Kristen, in terms of like what you're seeing in the actual fruits of, I guess, the KPIs that y'all have set. Um, if it takes us 7 days instead of 5 days, but y'all are finding more value in the product that we provided in 7 days versus five, then that to me is also a sign of success. But I mean, you tell me.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it's always a fine balance of looking at what sort of leading indicators of success might be for us, which I think of as predictive in nature. They're intended to gauge progress. They give us an early signal of whether something's going to work or not. And I have a couple examples of what that might look like in a B2B space where maybe we can focus today. Um, from a timing perspective, they're monitored during the earlier mid stages of a campaign and it helps us make real time adjustments. So if it's content revisions or if it's a change in target, whatever it might be, we can look at those things and see, what we think is going to happen on the outside. From for us, KPIs are intended to measure final outcomes and results. They're really clear cut. They're assessed after campaigns are created and launched to give us the actual impact of, what it is we're doing. Just a add a little color from a B2B perspective, a leading indicator might mean us looking at traffic from target accounts, seeing how many visitors are coming from our target audience or even our current customers, gauging potential interest in a campaign. Might be content engagement, or it could even be trade show event registration type of things. But from a KPI perspective, we want those solid, really quantitative metrics that are going to roll up to the higher business level objectives. So for us, that might be sales qualified or marketing qualified leads, conversion rate from lead to customer, total customer acquisition cost. So we can, measure the cost of what it would take for, in this example, to acquire a new customer, which will intend, affect the revenue if we're able to convert that. And of course, ROI, making sure that the investment is sound and that it returns, revenue back into the business and hits that top level. So I think they tie together. And I think that they're both important. And I would say, what you said about how you develop content and creative assets, it's very similar with how we look at initial campaign performance or website traffic as an indicator for us to see success in our campaigns and our strategies.
Yeah, this one's tricky for sales. A lot of people a lot of organizations look at KPIs differently. A lot of them do more of the call and email per day, social post per day, by week. Some do event based. But the biggest one that kind of ropes all of us together is, this, they fluctuate from year to year as you gather data, but also right now, let's say your board comes out and says, gives you a $10 million go get for next year. Everybody who's got revenue tied to it, or the revenue tree, has got to come together and go, okay, what does that look like? How much pipeline do we have to carry? What's our lead and win rate conversions? And then based off that math of working backwards, that's where the KPIs and success metrics come out of it. Is, we closed at 25%. We have a win rate of 25%. So we have to have 4x our pipeline. Well, how much of it is marketing responsible for it? So, okay, not only does we have to do, content team has to get together, marketing team has to get together, saying you have 35% of $40,000 to go get. That affects your KPI and your strategy. So, success is what was the term that we use? Success metrics.
Yeah.
Yeah, or leading indicators of success.
Leading indicator. That's the one. Leading indicators. I haven't had much to do with that because most of sales, since it's tied to revenue, is more just like, did you get this event or task done? The leading indicators seems to be more of like maybe a product and marketing side of it. Mm-hmm. But those, because that's important to you, you need to understand what that means, how to get that from the top, from that number. Because most of the time they give you a $10 million number, and then you come out of the room like, okay, this is what we got to go get. And then all of a sudden there's just a mad dash. You forget strategy. We freak out because it's more than you've done before. And before you know it, halfway through the year, you're 30% to the number. Now you got to change strategy. You got to do more outrageous things. You start firing reps, aren't closing. And before you know it, that one number that came out in December has thrown your organization into a tailspin for the next 2 years because you've been chasing a number and not knowing how to go get it, or do the backwards math to understand of like, this is what we have to do between every department to hit this number. And guess what? Once you hit that number, you're going to have to do it again, but this time it's going to be a $15 million go get. So you got to do the exercise again every year. And that becomes what, territory realignment, content strategy. So every year this exercise happens where you're changing KPIs, targets, and strategies.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, Derek. Sorry, Kristen. As you're saying that, it makes me think about the power of tying the two things together, right? Being able to have an understanding of your data, of your leading indicators or lagging indicators, right? But being able to look back at the data, because if you figure out, I'm thinking of sophisticated B2B SaaS solutions that we've been a part of and helped organizations with. Those can be a 6 to 9 month sales cycle. So the reality is being able to pick in December a revenue number for next year, you're already 9 months behind, right? If you don't count it as bookings, but you want actual revenue in the door, the fact of the matter is if it's a 9 month sales cycle, it's probably a 30 to 60 to 90 day marketing MQL lead generation cycle, right? So realistically, it's 1 year from when you engage a lead to when you could get that deal closed, and then you got to work your way back up. And so being able to proactively have these different numbers, Kristen, whether it's website traffic and open rates and performance, so that you can, realistically take a go get number, as Derek talked about, that they get, you know, you can then take that and actually say, well, I have to find this many leads, or I don't have any leads I have to find. We already have a database big enough. I have to cultivate leads out of this database. And Derek, I mean, from your guys' perspective, it may be, whether it's a small market, where there's a defined number of potential customers because maybe it's the healthcare space, or it's in a large enterprise business where only certain size of companies buy it. It's fascinating that we're talking about the KPIs, but the importance is that if you don't actually know the performance data that results in the KPIs, it doesn't really matter, because then all the KPIs are potentially unrealistic targets, is kind of what I'm hearing from you, Derek, is like, hey, the KPI could be you need to create $40 million. But if the organization's never created $20 million or doesn't know how it's created, $25 million last year and can't scale it, it doesn't matter what the KPI is, because there isn't a known pathway to success to achieve the key performance indicators that tells everybody we're going to hit our targets and goals. Am I hearing that correctly?
No, and that's the perfect way of saying it, is known pathway to success. Because so many companies I have worked with, there is no known. It is I hope. Hope is not a strategy in sales. That's what we
Yep.
always say. But they always hope that we can do this. But a known pathway is a good way to put it. Of not many organizations know how their numbers well enough, or how those numbers affect their day to day, to go, okay, I can digest that go get number, and this is my known path to success.
Just going to say, Derek, one of the things I really like that you said that I think shows strength in a strategic marketing department or partner is the ability to kind of work backward and determine the necessary actions to create that known pathway. And in marketing, we have a way to do that. With a set defined revenue goal, there are things that we can do, including calculating average customer value or average order value, and then working and building backwards by looking at, how many do we need to get visitor to lead to marketing qualified lead, MQL to SQL. We can work backwards based on percentages, and really it will give us exactly a really prescriptive sort of pathway to help achieve that. So that's definitely something that I think is important. And I think it's something that, um, all marketing strategists should be looking at for determining, what sort of programs they're going to recommend.
It sounds like the power of information combined with the right tools are what allow you to set fair expectations while at the same time stretch yourself, because nobody's looking to just hold serve and stay flat, but you could take these tools and then be able to set up and probably make a very fair case to your board and leadership that if this is the go get number, this is the go get expense in order for me to achieve that number, based on data, not based on opinion, on saying, hey, I need more, or hey, this is what it is. Being able to let them know the places where you can continue to invest, the places where you can maybe reduce costs through enhancements and other things. So yeah, super, super helpful, guys. I think it'll be an interesting thing. I will take that. I get to talk to the individual again tomorrow. And so I'm going to share a little bit about kind of helping them do the math maybe while we're together, to be realistic around what their growth targets are, because I think there's some lack of planning as it relates to the go get number that they've identified, Derek. And so I think helping them understand that, unfortunately, without the right infrastructure for them, that go get number is going to be a bit of a challenge, without some home runs hit. And you can really never bank on home runs. You should just always bank on singles and doubles. So I appreciate it, guys. Super helpful, and I'll let you know how that conversation goes.